time. It's breakfast time somewhere in the world, right? Pancakes are my favorite breakfast food. Obviously they are a little bit of a naughty treat, so I don't have them too often. So I thought, what better time than make them for my lunch today? No one will ever know, right? But I just told you guys. But that's okay. The things you're gonna need are some self-raising flour, some milk, an egg, some berries if you'd like for the toppings, some maple syrup, and some butter. You obviously need a fry pan and a flipper as well. So everyone always asks me what my recipe is, and I tell them it's actually the easiest recipe in the world. I found this when I was actually quite young, I think just off Google, but I'm not sure. It's just 1 cup of self-raising flour, 1 cup of milk, and 1 egg, so literally equal ratios. And all you have to do is put your milk into the flour, and then just add in your egg. That's literally it. If it's a little bit too thick, then I will just add in a little bit more milk, but I'm just gonna whisk that up. And it's just so easy. You don't need to let it sit. You don't need to waste time. You don't need any extra ingredients. Like most people already have these in their pantry. And then you just give it a good whisk. You do want it quite thick because I find, you know, thin pancakes just don't cut it for me. I want it to be filling, and I really like that fluffiness that you get with a thick pancake. So this is how I do it. A lot of people add sugar into their base, but I don't because I'm obviously going to drench it in sugar anyway, so we really don't need any more sugar. I find it can be overly sweet. So this is what the batter looks like. You don't need to go crazy and try to get all the tiny, tiny little lumps out. These are going to cook out when you put it in the pan, so that's just perfectly fine. No need to blend, just a little whisk, that's all you need. Now that our batter is done, I'm just going to take it over to the stove and get that stove heating up on a low to medium heat. So I only have this fry pan with me today, but if I was making these, I would actually try to use a smaller pan because then you can get a perfectly round shape. Because if it was about half this size, I wouldn't have to just put it in the middle. It would actually seat right to the edges and it makes it easier for flipping. But this is all we've got, so that's totally fine. Pancakes don't discriminate. Now I'm just gonna add a knob of butter. This is already a non-stick pan, but this is where you get the crunchy sides of your pancake, which makes it so good. I think that's what a lot of people miss. They put a bit of oil, whereas I tried it and butter works so much better. I don't serve my pancakes with butter, but you can obviously do, so I make sure I don't skimp out on the butter at this step. Our pan is still heating a little bit, so sometimes your first pancake isn't obviously going to be the best one, because once you have a regulated heat, it is a lot better. That's okay. Our batter's thickened nicely as we were just heating up the pan, so I'm just going to pour it in. And it won't be perfectly circle because we don't have that smaller pan. It's going to taste absolutely delicious. So now I just let this sit in the pan at a really low heat until all the bubbles start to rise to the surface, kind of like a crumpet, and then we're going to flip it over and it's going to be cooked beautifully through. So I always just check underneath just to make sure it's not sticking and just to see how it's going. But as you can see, it's still too pale. So we'll just move it back over into the center and we'll keep that cooking because you really want all the bubbles to have risen. Alright, so as we can see, it's all dried up on the top. I'm just going to flip that over. I don't add any extra butter at this point, I just let the remaining butter in the pan cook that through. So you can see it's nice and crunchy. And then it's going to be soft and fluffy in the middle because you've got that beautiful height to it. So now the pancake's ready. I'm just going to pop it on the plate and I'm just going to put in a little bit more butter and get the next one baking. So now the pan's a little bit hotter. It will go a little bit quicker than last time, but you still don't, if it is cooking too fast, you do want to turn down that heat because you don't want to go overboard. Because you will get a gooey pancake in the middle and that's gross. Oh, those bubbles though. It's getting thicker as it sits, so it's going to be so delicious. Just check this. Perfect, that's how I need it. Oh, look at that crunch. Perfect. And now you're just going to go on and stack that on top of the other one. So now they're cooked, you can add any toppings that you wish. So if you like butter, just go in and add a little knob of butter on them and that will melt and then you can move that around. I personally like berries, so I always go with a squirt of maple syrup. And then I don't have any fresh berries, so frozen berries are actually really good on pancakes too. They melt within a few seconds, so if you just put them on, if you eat them a minute later, they'll all melt from the heat. Or you can obviously thaw them out earlier as well. Perfect. The heat will melt them through, but it is kind of nice for the icy, cool berry against the hot pancake anyway. So that's it, it's really that easy. You can obviously go in and add a scoop of ice cream or a dusting of sugar if you like extra sugar. But this is plenty for me because we've got the natural sugars from the fruit and lots of sweet maple syrup as well. There's other options like lemon and sugar, raspberry jam, whatever you like. The options are really endless. As long as you've got that beautiful, hot, fluffy pancake to start with, I'm sure they're gonna taste amazing. On behalf of everyone, I'll taste test. Oh, I dropped my raspberry, hang on. I like to fold it over so the raspberry's inside the pancake. Just like that, little parcel. Yum, they're so good. You have to try these at home. So if you want to make mini ones, you can also use egg rings, which are a really good way. Just move them around to get a bit of grease on the actual rings. These are really cute and easy for the kids as well. Then you just pour in. Oopsies, I always make as much mess as possible, as you all know by now. Alrighty. So egg ring is a cute way for them to hold their shape so the kids can get involved and not create too much mess in your kitchen. And we'll just let them cook out, and then once they're set a little bit, we can take off those rings. So this one's nice and loose because I had enough butter. This one I'm just jiggling around, because it is silicone, you can just kind of jiggle it just to make sure it's not sticking when we do the final flip. So then you can take it off. There we go. They are really thick, so you do want to have it on a low temperature and really cook it through because you don't want any uncooked mixture in the middle. So now I'm going to flip. And they're perfectly little round pancakes. So they're very thick, so they're kind of like a souffle pancake. So now we're just going to put a smidge of butter on them. Oh, yum. And then we're just going to add some maple syrup on top. And there we go, that's our perfect, fluffy little pancakes done. I know this was a super simple and easy recipe, and I know it seems like common sense, but I've had some very bad pancakes in my time, so I thought sometimes people just need to get some hints and tricks, even if they are very simple. If you have any tips or suggestions, drop a comment below and I'll try and make them in future baking videos. See you next week.